Anxiety. You feel it, right? That tightness in your chest, the racing thoughts, the endless loops of worry. But here's something almost no one talks about. Anxiety isn't a weakness, it's a survival mechanism. Specifically, it's wired into your brain by four deeply ingrained survival patterns that have evolved over centuries to keep you alive. Understanding this is going to change everything. Today, we're going to break down exactly how your brain is hardwired for anxiety and how you can shift these patterns to stop feeling overwhelmed all the time. Stay with me here, because the real reason for your anxiety might just be one of the four survival patterns we're going to uncover. First off, let's reframe what you've been told about anxiety. You've probably heard it a million times. You just need to relax more. Or if you had more willpower, you wouldn't feel this way. But here's the truth. Your anxiety is not because you're weak, and it's definitely not because you're broken. You're not flawed. It's not about trying harder to calm down. The anxiety you feel is rooted in evolutionary survival patterns that have been etched into your brain over thousands of years. These patterns are triggered in modern situations that you don't even consciously recognize. And when you start to understand these mechanisms, you'll realize that the struggle you're experiencing isn't a flaw, it's biology. Dr. Judson Brewer, a neuroscientist at Brown University, conducted a study on anxiety and its relationship to behavior. In it, he found that 92% of participants showed a direct correlation between anxiety and the brain's need to avoid discomfort. The brain is always looking for ways to minimize perceived threats. So when you feel anxious, your brain is not telling you you're weak. It's telling you there's something dangerous in your environment, and it needs to be addressed. Let me paint a picture. It's late at night. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to shut off your thoughts. You've replayed the same conversation in your head 100 times, wondering if you said something wrong, if you're doing something wrong in your life, or if that job opportunity is slipping through your fingers. You feel that familiar tightness in your chest, the pit in your stomach, and you tell yourself, why can't I just calm down? But here's the thing you don't realize. This anxiety is not your fault. It's how your brain has been trained to react to perceived threats. It's normal, but that doesn't mean it's something you have to live with forever. Now, there's something crucial you need to know. Some of the things that seem the most obvious about anxiety, the physical tension, the racing heart, are actually the least understood when it comes to their psychological impact. That's right. The seemingly minor signs of anxiety can actually be the ones that shape your experience the most. And we're about to dive deep into the four survival patterns that could be driving your anxiety in ways you never imagined. First, let's talk about the pattern of hypervigilance. You're constantly scanning your environment for danger, even in moments when there's no immediate threat. Your brain is wired to notice every small detail, every change in tone or gesture, as if there's something lurking behind it. This was incredibly useful for our ancestors, early humans who needed to stay alert to survive. But in today's world, hypervigilance just makes you anxious and exhausted. You may not even realize it, but your brain is always on edge, waiting for the next problem to appear. The brain region responsible for this is the amygdala, often referred to as the brain's fear center. When the amygdala is triggered, it sends signals throughout the body to prepare for action: fight, flight, or freeze. But here's the kicker. In modern life, this reaction happens over things that are not life-threatening: a critical comment, an unresolved text message, or a stressful deadline. All of these things trigger the same survival response your brain developed to respond to predators. It's no wonder your anxiety feels so overwhelming. Here's the emotional truth of hypervigilance. It feels like being in a constant state of alert. You're always bracing for the worst, never feeling at ease, never able to just relax. You keep yourself busy, telling yourself that once you get everything under control, the anxiety will disappear. But the reality is that this pattern keeps you trapped in a cycle of stress and exhaustion. And here's the truth. It's not your fault. It's your brain's attempt to protect you, but it's also keeping you stuck. Now, the practical shift here is this. What if you could rewire this pattern by becoming aware of it? What if you could recognize when your brain is entering hypervigilance mode and choose to redirect your focus, just for a moment? This doesn't mean avoiding stressors. It means actively choosing to calm your nervous system when the danger isn't real. A simple practice like deep breathing or grounding yourself in the present moment can make all the difference. It's not a quick fix, but it's a step toward reclaiming control. Next up, we have avoidance. Your brain hates discomfort, and it's wired to avoid anything that feels threatening, even if that thing is a simple conversation or an uncomfortable feeling. Avoidance is another survival mechanism that was useful in dangerous situations. But when it's triggered in the context of relationships, work, or personal growth, it leads to avoidance behaviors that only heighten anxiety in the long run. The brain's prefrontal cortex is involved in decision-making, and it plays a huge role in the avoidance pattern. This area of your brain helps you assess risk, and when you avoid something, you are temporarily removing yourself from the threat of discomfort. But the problem is, avoidance doesn't help you grow. It keeps you stuck in your comfort zone, never dealing with the thing that's causing you anxiety. What avoidance feels like in real life is simple. You avoid tough conversations, you dodge difficult emotions, and you put off decisions because you fear failure. You might even find yourself procrastinating on important tasks just to avoid the discomfort of starting. But here's the truth. This pattern is normal. You're not weak for avoiding things. It's how your brain is wired to protect you from discomfort. But if you can learn to sit with discomfort, you'll start to break the cycle. The simple shift here is recognizing avoidance for what it is. It's your brain trying to protect you. But once you see it, you can begin to intentionally face small discomforts, gradually, little by little. You'll build tolerance, and over time, your anxiety will lose its grip. Third on our list is rumination. This pattern is all about overthinking. It's the constant replay of past conversations, the endless analysis of what could go wrong in the future. Your brain does this because it's trying to solve problems. It's seeking control in an unpredictable world. But here's the thing. Rumination doesn't solve anything. It only keeps you stuck in a mental loop that leaves you feeling drained and powerless. The hippocampus, responsible for memory and emotion, plays a big role in rumination. When you're ruminating, your hippocampus is pulling up past experiences and attaching them to current fears, leading you to overanalyze everything. Your brain thinks this helps you avoid future problems, but in reality, it just fuels anxiety. In real life, rumination can feel like being stuck in a mental spiral. You overthink everything, even small decisions, because you fear making the wrong choice. The validation here is clear. This is not a sign of weakness. It's a natural byproduct of your brain trying to make sense of a world that often feels uncertain. The shift is in recognizing when you're ruminating. When you notice yourself going down that path, try redirecting your thoughts. Challenge your brain by asking, what's the worst that could happen, and how would I deal with it? You won't stop the rumination immediately, but you'll start to interrupt the cycle and regain control over your thoughts. Halfway through now, stay with me here. Each of these patterns is a piece of the puzzle that has kept you stuck in anxiety. But what if you could break free from all of them? Imagine understanding why you feel anxious and knowing exactly how to shift these patterns. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Just like learning to ride a bike, each shift gets easier with time. Now, let's talk about attachment anxiety, the last survival pattern. This one hits deep because it's all about your relationships. When you have attachment anxiety, you're always worried about being abandoned, about being rejected. Your brain has learned to perceive relationships as a source of potential threat, and it's constantly alert for signs of disconnection. The oxytocin system, which governs our feelings of attachment and bonding, is deeply involved here. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone that makes you feel connected to others, but when your brain perceives potential rejection, your oxytocin levels dip and anxiety spikes. In real life, attachment anxiety can feel like constant insecurity in your relationships. You might feel needy, constantly seeking reassurance, or you might push people away because you fear being hurt. But listen to me. This anxiety is not about you being too much or too needy. It's about your brain misinterpreting love and connection as a survival threat. The solution is simple but profound. Start noticing when attachment anxiety is flaring up. Instead of reacting, pause, breathe. Understand that your brain is just doing its job. It's trying to protect you, but you don't have to act on every fear. You can start reprogramming your attachment system by building security within yourself, by learning to self-soothe instead of relying on others to do it for you. Here's the thing. These survival patterns are natural. They've been built into your brain for survival, But now that you know them, you have the power to rewire them. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're human. And with this knowledge, you can begin to understand why you feel the way you do, and most importantly, what you can do about it. The bottom line is this: anxiety is not a flaw. It's a survival mechanism. And once you understand how it works, you can begin to shift these patterns. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. And now that you know how to rewire these patterns, the next step is yours. So stay tuned, because there's more to uncover.